Hello, Tom Compton here again with Pursuing the Muse. Today I'm excited to feature Scottish-born, Texas-raised, and Nashville-based country singer-songwriter Callum Kerr. Beyond his music, Callum is an accomplished actor, having starred in 13 films and TV series, including hit Netflix shows like Virgin River and One Piece. He's just released his debut EP, Roots Under Me. In our chat, Callum shares about his Grand Ole Opry debut, the unique experience of recording his album's vocals in South Africa, and how his acting career sparked his serious pursuit of country music. Stay tuned for an insightful conversation.
You took the roll out the stone, the gone out the knee. You took the walk away out my boots, girl. You put some roots under me. 'Cause you saw the man this cowboy could be. With one little look, baby, you took it all out of me. Whatever lights your fire, whatever turns you on, whatever feels just right, I'll do it all night long. I wanna be that touch that gets your hair messed up. I used to love this town, I used to run these streets, I used to tell myself no way in hell I'd ever leave. Thought I'd settle down like my daddy did, build a life by some land, raise a couple kids. Now I don't give a damn if they burn the whole thing to the ground. If you ain't around, I used to love this town.
Hello, Tom Compton here again with Pursuing the Muse. This week, I'm so excited. We have Callum Kerr on the line here. How you doing, Callum?
I'm good, my friend. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you're exploding all over the place. You're like your debut EP is out, and it's really great. So I'm very excited that's in the world. And also, I've heard that you just had your Grand Ole Opry debut. How was that?
Yeah. Oh my God, amazing. The EP came out on the Friday, and then the next night I was playing two of the songs at the Opry, making my debut, and it was just incredible. Everyone talks about standing in that circle and how much of a privilege it is, and I really felt that when I was there. It was really something special. I had friends and family come from Scotland, Texas, Mississippi, Georgia. So it was amazing how many people came to see it, and I came off that stage feeling really, really blessed.
How are the jitters leading up to the show?
The week leading up, it was excitement, and probably towards the last couple of hours driving there was I started to get nervous. And, right before I went on, it was kind of, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is about to happen. But, after about 30 seconds of the first song, I kind of, chilled out. I was like, all right, I'm still standing. I haven't passed out or thrown up. So I think we're good. And we made it through the two songs. So yeah, and, by the end, I was really, really enjoying myself. It was some time.
Nice. What two songs did you play?
I played the first two songs from the record, so All Out of Me was the one that I opened with, and Used to Love This Town.
Oh, man, I think Used to Love This Town is my favorite song on the EP.
Thanks, man.
It's just, it does such a great job of locating like a person's story and a location and how change unfolds. So can we go into a little detail on that song? Like,
Absolutely.
How did that one come about for you?
So that one, I took a few outside cuts on this record. For the people, I guess, that don't know what that is. That's when someone else writes the song and then they pitch it to you. They'll say, we think your voice would suit the song. And we put I think 50 demos together, from songs that I'd written or outside cuts. And that one was, one of the favorites with the label and with the producers. So that was great for me. And I'd first heard that song. My buddy Ryan Garrett, who's from Texas, not far from where I'd moved to Texas too. and I heard him play at a writers round, and I said, dude, you got to release that song, man. You got to go get it made and get it out there, because it's too good to just be played at, you know, these writers rounds. People need to hear this. And he was a bit hesitant because he's doing a kind of rock project, and he was like, it's a bit too country for what I'm doing. But he was like, you would sound great on it, so why don't you put it out? And he kind of handed me the baton, and you know, we like I said, sent it to the label. They loved it, and the rest was history. It was great because, you know, I grew up from basically 17 onwards in Texas, and the opening line of the song is, that old Texaco was the only place to go to smoke that smoke when you're 17. And I was like, that's exactly what, you know, dumb teenagers do at that age in Texas. I was there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it just, that line caught me, and the melodies in the chorus were amazing. So I changed a couple lines here and there. I can't even remember which ones now because it was so long ago, but there's a couple lines that I changed just to kind of fit my story a little bit more. And like you said, the rest was history. And a song came out on Friday, and we're just so proud of how it turned out.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I'm noticing, maybe we should mention now. Now you've spoken a bit. You have a distinctive accent. So though you're in Texas at 17, originally you're from Scotland, correct?
That's right. Yeah, I grew up in Edinburgh, and lived there my whole life until I moved to Texas. And to be honest with you, I didn't really get exposed to country music when I was growing up. It wasn't until I moved to Texas that I really heard it for the first time, and you know, I totally fell in love with it, as you can probably tell. You know, I've now dedicated my life to it here. But you know, I grew up with rock music. I was always into the rock music of the 2000s and the 90s, and I loved that music, but I never wanted to make that music, if you know what I mean. I was just a big old enjoyer of it. And then as soon as I heard country, you know, I started playing it and singing it and writing, and eventually writing it. And yeah, it's been some journey on this side of the pond, if you will.
Yeah. So who are some of the artists when you're in Texas that you're listening to that were influences?
So when I first got to Texas, I got a job. It was a summer job, and it was working at a sports camp called Camp Stewart for Boys in Ingram, Texas, or Hunt, Texas. I guess they're two tiny towns right next to each other, and this is a big piece of land with a boys' camp. It's actually where the flooding happened a few weeks ago. So, you know, we've all been praying for the families affected down there. I think luckily it seems like the boys' camp, was not in session, and there was no major damage, but it's definitely going to take some work to restore it. Anyway, that aside, I got there, and my boss at the time, a guy called Thomas, he said, do you listen to country music? And I said, not really, to be honest. I never really heard much country music growing up. And he said, all right, here's 20 songs that you need to know before you come to Texas. And so before I even got there, he sent me 20 quintessential country songs to learn, and I was just obsessed right away. So I mean, the guys that were big on the radio at that time, you know, your Dierks Bentleys, and Jason Aldean was just kind of coming up, and the Zac Brown Band had just released their second album, I think, quite recently to that. And those guys that were big at the time, Luke Bryan was blowing up. Florida Georgia Line were huge on the radio at the time. So it was that kind of, early to mid 2000s radio country, and it had a lot of rock elements in it, which is why I was immediately drawn to it. Mm-hmm. And it was funny when I was in Texas. Then there was a Texas road dog that was making a name for himself called Cody Johnson, which is hilarious because he's now, international superstar Cody Johnson, not just Texas superstar Cody Johnson. So it's been cool to watch him really blow up over the last few years.
Yeah, you got a unique perspective on that happening. Oh
yeah, and that Parker McCollum was out of I think Dallas originally, and I'm trying. There was so many great Texas artists, and then so many guys that they don't want to play the international or even the national circuit. They make a great living just playing the Texas circuit, And so they'll go out to West Texas, come back to the Hill Country, go up to Dallas and Fort Worth, go out east to, to Houston and do all the college towns. And I saw so many great artists that I never remembered their name, and I probably wouldn't ever see them again. But they were just so good at music.
Right. Yeah. And I've noticed that myself. There was I'm thinking back. There was a musician who put out a record. I think it was like 2005, 2006. Mark McKinney, and he was in Austin, and he kept doing Texas, Oklahoma, and I'm up here in Chicago. And I'm like, when is this guy coming up here? And he never ever did.
Wow.
So I'm still bitter.
It's stated. Yeah. You should write him a harshly worded letter and let him know that you should have been in Chicago.
Exactly. So
That's funny. There's one more, I guess, that I'll mention, and it was I don't know if you would know Wade Bowen.
I don't know Wade.
Wade Bowen is fantastic, and he's had probably a little bit more success than the other kind of just Texas guys, but he's just Texas through and through, and he had some amazing songs, and he was one of the first guys that I ever saw, and I was just immediately obsessed.
I am taking a note right now.
Yeah, check him out, Wade Bowen.
I have to admit,
very good.
I'm more of an older school country, like Merle Haggard, Don Gibson, George Jones, those guys.
Love all those guys. That it took me a while to get to those guys, because I got there and it was, all the guys that I just mentioned were big, and then it wasn't until I really started focusing on music, on country music as a career, as opposed to just a hobby. I went all the way back to like the 60s, like your Merle Haggards and your Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson, and I kind of then listened through the decades and caught back up with myself to the the modern day.
Sure. I mean, I still count myself lucky. I wasn't a country music fan until my mid-20s, and I lucked out that I was dating someone who loved country music. So she wanted to go see Confederate Railroad playing this county fair in Wisconsin. And it turned out they were opening for Merle Haggard. So I saw Merle by accident. So
No way.
I'm counting my blessings on a racetrack in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin.
Oh man, how cool is that, dude? That is awesome.
Merle is amazing. So
wow.
But talking about where you've been with Scotland and Texas, and now you're in Nashville, how do these locations like inform you as a songwriter differently? How does it all mix together?
I think it's a lot of it is subconscious, because I guess you bring with you in the writing room or when you're in the studio, a little bit of each of the places, and Texas country is different to the Nashville country, but from what I've tried to do is have that kind of that Nashville songwriting style with some Texas sound in there, and elements of rock music from the stuff that I listened to when I was younger, and I guess it's somewhat purposeful in the production, but I think a lot of it is kind of just when you're feeling it, when you're singing it, when you're playing the guitar, it just kind of happens. I think.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Good question, but in case we definitely made an effort to try and blend the three genres, but it's
it kind of shapes you, and it comes out as a unique you.
Yeah, absolutely, and I love that. Even sometimes, you can tell the difference between, like you said, Georgia and Alabama country, or Texas and Tennessee, and it's cool to have influences from a couple of different places.
Sure. And then to also add to your story as a musician, you're an accomplished actor as well. You're in films and Netflix TV shows, and so how does that fit into the mix of everything? Because I guess that will, on top of that, also adds into all the diverse locations that you get to be influenced by.
Yeah, oh yeah. The acting stuff is amazing. Is let me live a really kind of cool life so far, and the opportunities that I've had. I think I actually started taking country music more seriously when I got a job, an acting job, playing a Texas country singer, and that's kind of what made me think, oh, maybe I could do this for real. But yeah, I mean, I've filmed in the States, in Canada, in the UK, kind of all over Europe, and most recently I was in South Africa filming a show for Netflix, which is amazing. And believe it or not, South Africans, big country music fans. So I got on with everybody there because they were like, oh my God, you play country, you live in Nashville? They were like, this is cool as hell.
That's fantastic.
Man, yeah, very cool place, Cape Town in South Africa.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I read you did some of the recording of this album in South Africa.
That's right, yeah. We'd picked our songs that we wanted to do, and I had to go film this thing, and it was kind of last minute, get over here as soon as you can type thing. And we didn't want to wait, so they produced the music, had the session for all the songs with all the session players and instrumentalists and the producers in Nashville, and we got all the all the instrumentation done, and then we found a really good studio in South Africa in Cape Town, and we basically did it over video call. So it was amazing. They could basically run the session from the Pro Tools in South Africa, and within seconds it would be recorded into the session in Nashville, which is crazy.
I heard about that. I had interviewed Eric Amble, who is a producer in New York, and he was talking about this plugin for Pro Tools where you don't have to upload to Dropbox and wait for the other musician to download it, listen to it, and give you comment back. It's more real-time stuff. Is that what the kind of thing you're talking about?
That's exactly it. Yeah. And there's sometimes a tiny, maybe talking milliseconds of delay. But I mean, you can. Everyone has to line up their lyrics anyway. So you always go through the vocal take and make sure it's all timed up and stuff. So it really doesn't make that huge of a difference, which just makes everything so much more accessible. You could have a singer in Australia that wants a producer in Nashville to do their album, and they could just do it all from Australia, which is just so cool.
Yeah, there's a game changer of turning things that took weeks down to minutes. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Thank God for technology, eh?
The internet ain't all bad, is it?
There's some good corners, eh?
As long as we're talking about the internet, do you have any thoughts about AI and its potential to disrupt music?
Yeah, it's certainly scary to think about where it is now and what the potential of what it could be. There's some things that are really they could be really helpful. I think if you're an independent artist who can record music into his Logic or his Pro Tools or whatever, but doesn't know how to mix it. You can get mixing assistants, and you can it'll find where you need to cut EQs, and I think it can be a really helpful tool. I think where people are worried is that you're just going to have an AI musician that has only AI songs produced by AI producers and mastered by AI, and these however much however many people listen to Spotify or Apple Music, or they're going to kind of end up stealing some fans, if you will, and it's all computers. So I'm sure I read somewhere that YouTube was going to stop monetizing AI content, which I thought was really, really, really good of YouTube, and I hope that in the future Apple and Spotify will do the same, because I think we got to protect the sacred art of songwriting and singing, and I think it can be a tool to help, absolutely, but it shouldn't be the final product.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I recall hearing Seth Godin, the influencer guy, talking about he was in favor of AI taking away the tedious tasks to free humanity to do more of the creative things.
Yeah, that would be perfect. That would be great. Yeah, I'm with him there. He's nailed it on the head. If you could take away the boring stuff that artists don't like to do, even things like calendar management and stuff. If you can kind of automate that somewhat, you could, like you said, you've got more chance to you got more time to just make the good stuff.
Right. And the live experience alone, I don't know how that could be replaced. You can't replace a musician out on stage sweating, dancing. It's just I think ultimately we should be safe.
I think so. I have hopes for the future because there's a reason that 100,000 people went to see George Strait when he played in Texas at the A&M at Kyle Field, and I think it was the biggest or the most attended show of in America of all time. It was like 113,000 people or something like that saw George Strait, and you could put on an augmented reality headset and watch it in your living room, but you're not there. You don't feel the energy the same way.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get the atmosphere. Yeah, everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you're right. I think we should be safe, but fingers crossed we're right.
Right. I mean, I've heard of a hologram of Elvis going on tour, but
oh my God,
that just doesn't have the appeal.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope people can see through it. But hey, you never know, man. I mean, if you're playing in Chicago and you've got to compete with Elvis all of a sudden, it's like I thought he was gone. I didn't realize he was going to be competition.
Right. Yes. Not Beethoven on tour. Watch out.
Right. Yeah. And then where does it end? It's like you can see Elvis and Jimi Hendrix on the same stage, and
Right. Oh man, I like that's an interesting concept. Can we make a super group?
Right, yeah, the most crazy band of legends.
John Bonham, Jimi Hendrix, and Elvis on tour.
Right, yeah. See, there we go. We might have just talked ourselves out of a job there.
So, you have also in the last couple of years become a father. How has being a parent influenced yourself as a musician?
Aside from the, I want to write songs about my daughter, it's, I think, just the work ethic has gone up, and there's less time in the day, but you really have to utilize your time and make it worthwhile. So if you have 4 hours to go to a writing session, and get some stuff done, you don't want to spend the first 2 hours catching up and messing around and not doing much. You're like, I've got 4 hours now, I'm gonna get back to my baby. I don't have a choice here. So it definitely kind of motivates you to work harder, and of course work harder because you got another mouth to feed, and more, typically more bills to pay and more clothes to buy, and so really it definitely put a fire under my ass. I've always been a pretty hard worker, but for now it just I got to streamline everything and just really be focused, and I think that's an advantage in any industry, but especially music. You've got to be a self-starter. There's no one to push you. It's just you against the world. So it's definitely extra motivation, and it's great. She's now 1.5, and she listens to my songs and she dances to them, and I'll show her demos of new songs that I've done, and she has a little dance in the living room, and it is really sweet.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. Well, yeah, seeing it's got to melt your heart.
Yeah, and it's not just for yourself anymore. You're doing it for someone else, which is that's a really special feeling, I think.
Yeah. So, speaking of younger, how did you first get started writing songs and playing instruments?
So I played guitar in elementary school. We call it primary school back in Scotland, but I started taking guitar lessons at school, and I actually didn't love it because we were learning, I guess, like kind of classical Spanish style, old school guitar with 3 nylon strings, and I just thought it was so boring. But I always loved music, so I actually dropped out of those lessons and just started teaching myself like Green Day songs, and and it kind of went from there, and a lot of it was kind of just self-taught in a bedroom, and I just got to the point where I could proficiently play songs that I liked playing and singing, And then as for writing music, because it was a hobby, because playing other people's songs was just a hobby, I never really thought about writing my own stuff until about 2021 or 2022 when I moved to Nashville, and I just thought, I want to do my own stuff now, and that's a skill in itself. Some people think that writing songs can't be that hard. Man, you try and write 10 songs, it's tough. It's crazy. I've never written probably hundreds of songs, and it's each day is a new challenge, and you're just trying to get better. And you look at the best songs, and you try and work out why they're so good, and you try and put influences into your own songs. And yeah, I just thought, if I'm going to do this right, I want to learn that skill, and so that's really what I've been kind of working on here in Nashville, is just getting good at writing and producing demos and working with other artists and writers, and so far so good. We're getting there.
Nice. How do you compare solo writing versus co-writing? Do you have a preference?
I do I like writing solo to kind of challenge myself, but I think that Nashville is such a collaborative place, and the writers here, the players, the other artists, everyone is so damn good. I always joke with people. I say I thought I could play the guitar until I got to Nashville, and then I saw those guys playing the guitar. I was like, oh my God, I'm like a 4-year-old compared to some of these guys. And I think I prefer the collaborative write, especially when maybe I'll go in with an idea, and I've got the kind of basis of a song or a title or a melody or something, and then whoever you're writing with, or sometimes it's 2-3 other guys or girls, they come up with a line or they come up with something, and you're like, oh my God, I never would have found that, and it just it elevates the song. And yeah, I think I prefer the collaborative process, but I'll still do some solo writes just to keep keep everything fluid and keep everything greased. Make sure I'm not slacking.
Sure. Keep yourself honest. Mm-hmm. So are there which of the songs on the new record are co-writes?
So I think all of them are co-writes. Some of them I didn't write on, like the Used to Love This Town. The one that I did, the It Ain't Working song. Yeah. Really cool. Just heard that play on the WSM Opry radio yesterday. That was really sweet. That one I wrote with a guy, Mika Wilshire, and another guy, John Pierce, and those dudes are just they're just killers. Neither of them are artists. Mika produces as well, and John is just a killer writer. And we sat down and drank some tequila and came up with that song. And that some of those one-liners in the song are John Pierce magic. And again, something that I may not have come up with if I had not been with those guys on that day. So it's really cool. It's a great process. And I've actually got another song that I wrote with those two guys, and I think that will come out potentially later this year or early next year. So I'm really excited about that.
Okay. Do you have a date in mind for is it a follow-up album, or are you shooting for another EP, or just I'm not even sure how it works anymore. There are people that just put out single after single after single now.
Yeah, I that's kind of what I was doing before, but now I signed with a label here in Nashville, so it's a little bit more collated, and the next one will be another EP, another 6-song EP, and then if all going well and everyone's happy at the label and they want to keep working together, then the final one on this deal that I have with them will be a 12-track album. So potential for 18 more songs. I'm really happy with the label. They seem to be really happy with me, so I don't see any reason why we don't get all 18 songs out there in the next year and a half.
Fantastic. Now, if you've got this EP out and you said you had 50 contenders to be on it, so with the next EP, are you pulling over those 44 that didn't make it, or are you starting from scratch again?
Yeah, there may be probably not all 44, but there probably will be a couple that were close contenders for this one that will swing over into the next one. So, yeah, with even more competition now. So it's going to be is this is always it's a really fun part, but it's a really hard part because sometimes you love a song and it just doesn't fit that record. But you can pitch it to other artists and stuff like that as well, so it doesn't have to die on the hard drive.
Yeah, that's a good insight of like when considering a song, thinking of how it fits with the other ones. Did you have a sense of like a theme or an arc with the EP that just came out?
Yes, somewhat. It's less of a story arc and more of I guess a salute to country music. So I wanted a little bit of everything from the stuff that I loved, and so I wanted a heartbreak song, a love song, a drinking song, or maybe like a drinking because you're sad song, drinking because you're happy song. We have a kind of cute making love, to telling someone how much you love them and all that, and then the kind of the remembering the old hometown song, which is they used to love this town. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like with this EP we kind of hit all the marks on those, and I've got now again so many more songs that I'd love to put out, and there's even more styles. I've got some songs that are like love letters to country music, and I've got some songs that are just kind of, I've got having a baby songs, and there's plenty that we can can release now. So I just want to keep broadening kind of what we do, and I'll always have those classic the kind of classic country styles in there as well.
Yeah. This Roots Under Me, this record, it's one to me, it feels like it's Friday, it's 5 p.m. I just want to put the work week behind me, and this is the record I want to put on.
Hey, well, listen, if a couple more people think like that, I'm real happy, because that was the idea, man. We wanted to put out an album that we would listen to.
Right. Right.
If I'd heard all these songs from another artist, I'd go, oh, who's this guy? What's this song? Who's singing this? So, if other people can enjoy it, drive to work, drive home from work, weekend, whatever floats your boat, we're happy as long as people are listening and enjoying.
Yeah, you stuck the landing. I'll give you that.
Thanks, brother.
So I want to ask about the song, the last song in the record, Silver Lining, it's got this up-tempo, fast-paced rhythm. Just from a purely musical perspective, I just love what's going on with that. Can you talk about the origins of Silver Lining?
Yeah, that was kind of, we wanted a lot of country music is drinking through heartbreak, or songs that are especially the kind of modern thing is you got a lot of songs about being an alcoholic, and everything's quite like doom and gloom, and we just wanted one that you could go to a festival in the summer and you could just cheers your beers to, and it's kind of like you said, upbeat, happy in style, and it's it just goes, I guess, with the lyrics, it just kind of goes back to no matter what happens in life, you can always crack open a beer and try and forget about your worries. Yeah. Every can has a silver lining for a reason.
So tell me about working with the Huffs as producers, David and Dana Huff. What was it? Or Dan Huff? Yeah,
it was those guys signed me. So I've got a JV, which is kind of like two labels acting as one. So the Huffs make up 50% and 1RPM make up the other 50%. And it was David Huff who first called me and said, we're really interested in taking you on as an artist. Would you be interested? And I was talking to some other labels, some bigger labels, some smaller ones, and some kind of independent non-country labels as well. And I met with David. We had a couple of beers in East Nashville, and I was just blown away with everything he was saying. They're just so all about the music that, those guys just, I mean, they've had so much success in this town, they could probably retire 5 times over and live a great life. They've both got kids and families, and they just love making music, and that's what you want in a world, especially the music world can become quite corporate and cheesy, and they just want to make banging songs. And so I fully put my trust in those guys. And I mean, it helped that Dan Huff has produced some of the biggest country songs of all time, and is considered one of, if not the greatest session guitar player in the world, and one of the best country producers in the world. So it was a no-brainer for me. There was other opportunities, maybe, I guess, because they're a new label, there was opportunities with bigger labels, and they just didn't have the personality, man. It just didn't. It feels like a family when you're with the Huffs. So they've been great to me, and I'll be forever thankful to those guys.
Yeah, before this interview, I took a quick look at Dan Huff's resume, and that thing, it's like a scroll that you unfold, and it just goes on and on. Some of the names are unbelievable, like Michael Jackson and Tim McGraw. It's just amazing who he's worked with.
Oh my God, yeah. And I mean, he was in LA for a long time. Andy had his own band, but he's got like thousands of bloody songs, because before he was producing the songs, he was also playing, like, session guitar playing on them. And wow, just what a career that guy's had.
Is it intimidating to work with someone like that, or is he open to new perspectives?
Certainly open to new perspectives, especially with working with new artists. It wasn't like, right, you're with our label, this is what you're going to do. It was very collaborative. But the coolest thing about Dan is that he is just one of the most relaxed dudes that you could ever meet. I remember the first time I met him at a coffee shop briefly when I was first signing with those guys. And it was the same thing as when I met David. We had a coffee, and they just talked about music and what we wanted to do. And then after that, it was they invited me around to his house, and I went into his studio that's in his house, and he's just walking around in t-shirt, jeans, and no shoes on, just relaxed as the day is long. And there was no point where it felt like, oh, you better do this or you better do that because it's this important guy. It's just, Dan Huff is just a relax. He's great, but he's as down to earth as anyone.
So how did it go when you're in South Africa doing the vocals? Where were Dan and David at that time? Were they in Nashville?
Yeah, most of the time they were in Nashville. I actually did manage to get back home to do. I think I did 2 of the songs back in Nashville, but oh gosh, I'm trying to think. There was one that we did, and David was at the beach in Florida, and he was just supervising the whole thing from I don't know, somewhere down on the Floridian coast. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I just thought that was hilarious. He's just having the time of his life, probably, sipping a margarita and producing a country song. It was it's proper proper Nashville producer cool.
Yes, it seems appropriate. So now
absolutely.
Where do you see the music industry headed in terms of an artist-fan relationship? Do you think it's moving to more of a direct-to-consumer kind of model, or is it just going to kind of just evolve?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I think that there's absolutely way more opportunity for independent artists to become massive. But I also think, especially in the country world where, radio is still king somewhat, and you kind of get access to different things. These labels are still very, very much in control. But best thing about the Huffs again is that they're an independent label. They're not owned by like a big WME or one of these Universal or anything like that. They can kind of make their own decisions. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of like the best of both worlds. But yeah, in terms of the future, I think you could be a 16-year-old kid in your bedroom with Logic open and write one of the biggest songs of the year, and post it on TikTok, and it can end up being a massive hit. So I think it's a really good time for independent artists.
Mm-hmm. Do you do anything on TikTok?
Yeah, I'll post most of my songs on TikTok and kind of use it like a marketing tool, and try and get it to more eyes and more ears, and I think it's something like 800,000 followers now, which is really cool.
Nice.
And so, just plugging away, man. Just trying to get as many ears on the songs.
Yeah, it's like there are so many different social media routes. It's got to be hard to just juggle them all and keep them straight.
Oh my gosh, yeah, seriously. You're right. So many different routes, but I kind of throw the same content into Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and sometimes one song will go viral on one app and not the other, or sometimes they kind of blow up together. So I think they're great platforms for kind of pushing your stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you've just played some big fests like Whiskey Jam and CMA Fest. Do you have a touring band put together?
Yeah, I've had the same band for all the shows this year, and we actually we'd swap drummers because the guy that played drums during CMA Fest and Whiskey Jam was, gosh, where was he? He was on tour with someone, I can't remember who it was, but that's if you don't have shows coming up, you don't want your band to be waiting around to get paid. You got to say, go make your money. But ideally, I'd keep the guys that I have now for as long as I can. And those guys, we've just been going out as a 4-piece with no tracks. So everything is live, everything is plugged in. There's no background tracks. There's no one behind the stage playing anything else. It's just the 4 of us going out there, and it already sounds massive. So as we kind of add to that over the years, I think it'll be. I think we could get a pretty cool thing going.
Do you have a tour planned for to go with the new record release?
Yeah, I'm trying to work out dates just now because I have an acting job coming up in the fall as well. So I'm going to try and work around that and make everything work. But right now we're talking about Texas, Oklahoma to start off with.
You're not going to do this to me again like Mark McKinney did, just Texas and Oklahoma. You're getting up to Chicago at some point, right?
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be
I've been hurt before, Callum. I got to tell you.
Yeah, listen, you have my word. At some point, I will 100% play in Chicago, even if I just have to drive up there and play at a gas station. I'll let you know.
I'm putting you in my bands in town, and I'm watching for that notification to come into my inbox.
All right, you got a deal. A deal.
Fantastic. So you've got this is fantastic. You got the mini tour in Texas. When is that happening?
So we're locking in dates now. We're trying to get the dates sorted now, but it'll definitely be, if everything goes to plan, sometime later this year. So okay. I can't say exactly because we're, like I said, we've not got dates locked in, but we've already spoken to the venues. We've got the venues interested. They've given us some preliminary dates, and we just got to lock it all in and put it all together.
All right. Is the acting project a secret?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the worst.
Are you joining the MCU?
Oh my God! Yeah, I can tell you that it is not that.
You're going to be in Doomsday or whatever the next thing is coming out.
Oh my gosh, I wish. Yeah, that would be huge. But I'll talk about it as soon as I can. It's just that I haven't even, because it's filming this fall, I haven't even signed the contract for it yet. So I'm still locked under that NDA. Unfortunately, I want to talk about it so bad, but in time. Next time I talk to you, hopefully I'll be able to tell you how.
There we go. At that gas station in Chicago, you're going to let me know.
There we go. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, Callum, thank you so much for coming on Pursuing the Muse. You've got so much going on, and it's so exciting. You can't even tell us some of the things. That's just like you're headed in the right direction. That's the bottom line. So the new EP is fantastic. Roots Under Me. Where can people learn more about you?
So I guess I've got all the socials, so you can just type in Callum Kerr, and usually I'll pop up. YouTube. I've got all the music is on all the platforms, so Spotify, Amazon, Pandora, YouTube Music, Amazon. So, just, I guess, type my name in anywhere and something should pop up.
Right. If you can't find something, something's going wrong. You've lost your connection to the internet.
You've spelt it wrong. Yeah. Callum with 2 L's. That should work.
There we go. All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. This is a real treat.
Mate, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. And thanks again. Great interview. Love doing it, mate. So thank you.
Thank you. All righty.